on the Fox Business Network. Please welcome now to the program our old friend Craig Crawford. Good morning, Mr. Crawford.
Hi, man. When I was on the beaches of Normandy under a hail of bullets at D-Day 1944, I was fighting for the right of Connecticut attorney generals to make up their war records, too.
You know what's the most surprising thing about all this?
What?
Is that the New York Times sticks it to him this morning. He's a Democrat, isn't he? But, I mean, man, they...
Well, a scoop's a scoop, even if it's your friend.
Yeah, but they really stick it to him. In 1970, when with his last deferment in jeopardy, so writes Raymond Hernandez in the Times, he landed a coveted spot in the Marine Reserve, which virtually guaranteed that he would not be sent to Vietnam. He joined a unit in Washington that conducted drills and other exercises that focused on local projects, like fixing...
Yeah, this was a guy that Democrats thought that's one reason they were so happy when Chris Dodd bowed out, because Dodd's in so much trouble that they had a great replacement here. This guy was 81% in the polls among Democrats, and I think set Friday to be nominated for the Senate race. Now he's got an opponent who really did serve in the military in the Democratic side, this Merrick Alpert, who was actually in the Army National Guard and volunteered to go to Bosnia, so that counts for something.
I wasn't done reading.
Okay.
When you interrupted me.
Well, if you're reading the New York Times, we'll be here all morning.
Like fixing a campground and organizing a Toys for Tots drive. Man, you're fired up today, aren't you?
I am. Well, I'm in Orlando. I'm always hepped up when I'm down home.
So is your team the Orlando Magic?
You betcha.
Okay, and they're favored by 7.5 tonight.
Well, I tell you, that game the other night was an anomaly. Actually, I think there were signs in that game that show how they're going to win the series. I mean, they played their worst game. Boston didn't play their best game, but Magic certainly played their worst game and only lost by 4 points. That ought to tell you something. But I got to say, I'm the dumbest basketball. I'm like a bird dog. I'm dumb but loyal.
How long have you been an Orlando Magic fan?
Since they started. See, when I grew up in Orlando, we had no professional teams of any sort. We didn't have college teams then. And so we had to follow everybody else's teams. And so it was really a big deal, almost as big as when we got Disney, when the Magic got started. And, of course, early on they got Shaq, and that got us going. But my parents are the big basketball fans in the family. They passed on a lot of great stuff to me, but their keen knowledge and intensity for basketball, I didn't pick up. My mom actually studied under Adolph Rupp, the great legend at University of Kentucky.
What did she study?
Basketball coaching.
Really?
Yeah. In fact, she was the only woman in the class, and he cussed a lot. Every time he cussed, he would apologize to her, but she didn't care.
Yeah. Did she ever coach basketball?
She was a physical ed teacher here in Orlando for 21 years.
Oh, she was?
Yeah, she coached cheerleaders and basketball and all that stuff.
Why are you out of breath? You sound like you're out of breath.
Yeah, I guess I'm better sit down.
Well, what the hell are you doing? Talking with Craig Crawford.
Calisthenics.
One of my favorite people, by the way. So, anyway, he's down in Orlando, and today's primary day, as you know. So, by the way, the
stuff I tell you, this is the revenge of the outsiders in this one today. I think the pitchfork brigades on both sides are going to do well. This could be the end of Arlen Specter's career. I have a feeling that's going to be the big headline out of this.
Back to the Celtics, Orlando thing. The Celtics are going to win that series. But are you aware of that? Or I guess not.
No, they're not going to win it.
Oh, of course they are.
No.
Well, all right. And Specter's going down in a whatever. So.
Yeah, my native state, Kentucky. I think they're going to make some news with Rand Paul.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. I think McConnell. Mitch McConnell is the boss of Republican politics in Kentucky, and his hand-picked dude, Trey Grayson. I don't know if the establishment machine there in Kentucky can overcome Rand Paul's online brigades. I mean, he's raised a lot of money. He's This question whether they can get the vote out today with all that internet activity.
I was talking to Major Garrett yesterday, like White House correspondent for Fox News.
I noticed he was siding with the power crowd with McConnell. I mean, that's a safe bet probably, but I'm going for the riskier bet that Rand Paul can do this.
How about in Arkansas?
Well, I think Lance Lincoln is not going to win enough to avoid a runoff. You know, she's got to get over the 50-yard line. She's got to get 50% plus one to avoid a runoff and keep having to spend money in her Democratic race. And I think that'll be in June. So I think she'll have kind of she'll come out on top, but not enough to clear out the Democratic field, and she'll have to keep running for the Democratic nomination. I mean, she's in a real crossfire. I mean, she's got them coming at her from the left, coming at her from the right. I mean, she's almost having to play some three-dimensional chess out there.
We're talking with Craig Crawford in the Imus Morning Program, 17 till the hour. How about the Attorney General and Janet Napolitano both saying they don't like the Arizona immigration law and they haven't read it?
I've noticed a lot of people get asked that when they're attacking it, and then they say they haven't read it. I'm anxious to see if other states, here in Florida, there's a movement to pass a law similar to that. If other states, now I think Florida would be in tough shape if a boycott of tourism and conventions kicked in, so that'll be a factor. But I'll be curious to see if some other states start doing this. And I think what Arizona has done, though, is put it on the map for Democrats to consider nationally immigration reform finally this summer and take it up. There's a lot of movement on the Hill to take that up again. Obama actually poured cold water on it, saying he didn't think there was an appetite for it, but this would be a great way to get the Latino vote out for Democrats if they took that up, even if they didn't pass it by November.
Well, when people oppose it, well, they oppose it because they think it invites the abuse or what?
Well, I think anything that looks like it's targeting ethnic groups, Hispanics, and looks like profiling, it gets the left going, and even if they don't read the bill and the assumptions they make. And it's an East Coast, it's an East Coast thing. I mean, where a lot of East Coasters don't understand the outrage, and the people on the front lines of this stuff who are experiencing it and see the illegals and see the problems, they don't see that context. But what's interesting to me about Arizona is the difference between Tucson and Phoenix. Tucson is not, actually Tucson's talked about suing the state over this, but Tucson's much more integrated with the Mexican community over generations, going back to the Spanish influx. And Phoenix is very different. People from the rest, it's not as integrated with that community. And so it's fascinating to see the different attitudes within Arizona even.
Well, who knows? So, hated seeing old McCain. Well, I'm pulling for him over that loudmouth, phony J.D. Hayworth, but he looks silly walking along the fence there saying we got to build a dang fence. And just
build a dang fence.
Oh, come on, man. Well, say hi to your parents.
Where does that fence stand, by the way?
Huh?
I don't know if they finished that fence or not.
Yeah, you
How
got to
much
get
of it have they built?
I don't know. Not enough, apparently. Say hi to your parents, will you?
Yeah, they're ponied up for tonight's game.
Okay. I'm going to see Jersey Boys tonight, so.
Well, that ought to be a hoot.
I may miss the game, or maybe I'll see part of it when I get home. Or maybe...
Well, when I fought there in Okinawa, I was fighting for the right of Don Imus to have his radio show.
Craig Crawford here.